And where we're going today is we're going to introduce the antithesis of the meta model, which is the Milton model. This is where people can deal with things in a very different way. So first thing is there's rapport. So I've just written down a process here taken from an Ericksonian induction of how things happen. First of all, there's a current pace, and there's lots of ways to do an induction. I'm just giving you one as an opening gamble. So current pace is like, okay, here we are in this room on this Saturday in Covent Garden in the Kingsley Hotel. So by current pace, you're actually saying truisms, so a person has got to agree. They can't disagree. So you're putting them into a state of agreement, and what is it that is an anchor for that state of agreement? Whatever they can see, whatever they can hear, whatever they can feel. You. So you are an anchor for agreement. After you do that and you talk about certain things, you then come into rapport with them. Now, rapport in hypnosis, if a person's going into hypnosis for a session, it's almost like we know where we're going. So what would we want to do in a hypnosis session to get in rapport? What would be the key things in a hypnosis session? I'm talking about here specifically. What would the rapport be? How would we do that? So, language also. What else is more important in hypnosis? So this is where two people have said, right, I want to experience hypnosis. So we've made an agreement, and in hypnosis, trust is the main part. There would always have to be trust. So here I'm just talking in a frame of hypnosis. You're going to do an exercise shortly, and the frame is you are going to go into an altered state. You are doing pure hypnosis. So current pace would be acknowledging where we are. This is the most crucial part of hypnosis, because if you don't have rapport, you can't really benefit from anything that comes after that. So in a hypnosis session, how would we get into rapport? Sean's just said language. That would be part of it. That would be part of it. Breathing. That's the top one. Breathing. Breathing is key, because rapport in hypnosis, breathing it brings everything else together. So there's certain ways to get into rapport using breathing and language, which I'll share with you. Then there comes a point where you've got to make the detachment from the conscious mind to the unconscious. So this happens when you've filled the conscious mind so that the conscious mind is happy, and then the conscious mind, like somebody said, can go to sleep and the unconscious can awake. So by filling the conscious mind and having rapport, and you can then go into the unconscious. And there's ways, again, with language that you can accelerate that process. Confusion and questions can allow a person... Yeah. Questions. Questions. So questions and confusion, that's the doorway to trance. When you ask somebody a question and they're confused, the only way they can go is to their unconscious. And then when the window's open, that's when you can enter that state. Once they're in there, an altered state, that's where you can change using language, and there's certain processes that you can do here. And when you've completed these and led them in, you can bring a person out of the trance, and you can do this through, I'm just giving one way here, where you take them into the future with whatever it is they've changed. Now here, a person might say, I've come for a hypnosis session. What will they be using based on the language we spoke about yesterday? So somebody's come to a hypnosis session with me. what do I guess they'll be using? Which language patterns from yesterday will they be telling me? There'll be some cause effects. What else will there be? There could be universal quantifiers, but mainly they'll be using modal operators of necessity and possibility. They'll be telling me what they can't do. So here we'll have a collection of language patterns. There'll be some universals, cause effects, but mainly they'll be telling me what they can't do or what they can do, and they can't stop it. So when we're here, this is where we reverse them. So here they might be saying, can't do this, I can't do that, I never do that, I always do that. When you've done the change work and you come here, this is where the language patterns that they've used here, this is where you reverse them. So I'm not saying that every time you do that you can. I'm not saying that you will find it easy. I'm not saying that now you know that all the things. So this is where you use the patterns from yesterday in a way that they're creating choice rather than chunking down. Does that make sense? So it's like the meta model turned on its head, and the way that you operate is different because you're using your conscious and your unconscious, and you're embedding commands. So that's and also you do that in first, second and third. So it's almost like, I don't know if you can imagine now you're in the future, and if you were to look at yourself, look at him now, I don't know what other people would say. I don't know if you can imagine what your wife would say when he walks in. So you're now, through your language, putting them in the future, putting them in second position with somebody else. And if we were to be watching that on a TV screen, like a reality TV show, what is it that people would say? So you're now putting him in a third position, and if you were to go in there now and look out. So here, you're putting them forward in time, you're checking out with different perceptual positions. So it's almost like they've made new submodalities up in the future, you've led them in with embedded commands, and they've done this in a state of trance hypnosis with their unconscious. So part of them, they may not remember, or they may remember, but the words that you've embedded, the anchors, the suggestions that you've given are so massive they can't remember everything, but they will remember a lot without knowing. So the changes have been made unconsciously, and when they come out, they're in the conscious mind, but all the decisions have been made unconsciously. NLP is all about communicating with the unconscious. Hypnosis and the Milton model in this context here is where you are totally communicating with the unconscious. But there are certain protocols that need to happen. First one is you need to be in a trance. If you're going to use the Milton model and hypnosis with a client, you're the first person who goes in a trance. You cannot. You've got to take the lead. So if you can't go in a trance yourself, your client's not really going to go in because there's going to be transference. So one of the first things that we're going to do before we start to use the Milton model is, how do you go in a trance? How do you go from your conscious mind to your unconscious? How do you do that? Relaxation? How do you do that? How would you do that in a
meditation?
Yeah, and how would you know?
Concentrating yourself, you're breathing, you're concentrating your in and out.
So who would like to experience going from your conscious to your unconscious? Okay, we're not going to do any change work. We're just going to do from your conscious to your unconscious, where you're in an altered state. So you would like to do that, yeah? Okay, I will choose you because you've gone red. So I do know that her unconscious is there anyway, and she's laughing, which is an unconscious reaction. You can't laugh consciously. So I do know that she would be a good good subject for that. Does anybody else would like to? Okay, so if you two come up here, just sit here. And how are you in this room? Okay, Simon, have you had a experience of?
Yes, I'm going to say I think so, but yes, I think yes.
Okay, great. So we've got two people here. One who has been in an altered state and a trance, and it was a good experience. So that's good, because it's almost like with you, we're going to do what we call revivification, where we ask them to go back and revivify what they heard, what they saw. So it's almost like she's already set up internally because she's got an experience. So by me asking the question, she's opened the file, so she knows how to do that. Simon is a little bit unsure. So what we would do with Simon is we would ask him what would happen, and we're going to use presuppositions of language. So I'll be doing different things with each person. So with you, we're going to be putting her back somewhere. She's just getting a hypnosis equipment. No, it's not a tissue one. This is not a tissue one.
Yeah, I'm getting my name tag. For your benefit.
Okay.
She will be better that way.
Okay. So with Lauren and Simon, we're going to be doing different things. Okay. So but it's the same protocol. So with Simon, we're going to be asking different questions. With Lauren, we already know she knows, so the language is going to be different. Yeah. So Simon, if you were going to go in a trance now, what would be the first thing that would happen?
I wouldn't be conscious of the people in the room.
Okay, and how would you not be conscious of the people in the room?
My eyes would be closed.
Okay, so I'm not asking him to close his eyes. It's just a suggestion. He's opened his eyes now. So I just said, what would the first thing be? Now, if I say first thing, what does that presuppose? There's more than one. So there's some presuppositions in this. So okay. So the first thing is, and where did the answer come from? Me or Simon? Simon. Everybody goes into a trance differently, but it would be the same. But first of all, he cuts off, he closes his eyes. So I want you to do that. Now, as your eyes are closed, Simon, what's the second thing? If that were to happen, you'd go a little bit deeper in a trance.
Second thing is I'd be looking for sort of silence, and I'd have like a constant noise, like I can hear the air conditioning.
Okay.
So I can imagine, for example, being in the dentist chair,
Okay.
which I hate, and trying to control myself and relax.
Right.
And you know that feeling sometimes when you have the gas, there's just a constant hum or a buzz.
So what has he given me now? He's given me a whole repertoire that I can use that are anchors for him, right? So what I want you to do is I want you to close your eyes, and as your eyes are closed, I want you, Simon, to just imagine that everything's okay, but it's almost like you're in the dentist's chair. And you know what it's like when you're there and you're relaxed. And, you know, there's a noise, there's a certain hum. And I don't want you to speak, I just want you to experience what that feels like as you're relaxed and you can hear a certain noise. And I want you to now allow that relaxation to do whatever would be the next thing so that you can go deeper into an altered, relaxed state. I don't know whether you'd relax your shoulders, I don't know whether the muscles in your neck would become relaxed. I don't know if you'd slow your breathing down. Just allow yourself to do whatever it is that's the next thing so that you can go deeper. And I just want you to be there now, and I'm going to talk to Lauren, and you can listen, but you can be in that altered state and just allow yourself to become more relaxed by breathing in a certain way, by thinking, and just allow your unconscious to do whatever it does. And for you, Lauren, I want you to imagine that you were in that place. And what I want you to do is, I want you to give me your right hand. And what I want to do with you is, I want you to imagine that place. I want you to go into that state. And I want you to breathe in a way that you go into a really good, altered state of hypnosis, where you're connected to who you are. And I want you to breathe in a way that you go deeper. And you can listen too, Simon. And in a minute I'm going to touch your right hand. And I'm going to take that. And what I want you to do, Simon, is just relax. And I want you to breathe in and just become really relaxed. Just breathe. Listen to my voice. And just relax. The more you breathe in, the more relaxed you come. And as you're in that state, I want your unconscious mind, with every breath, to become even more relaxed. And I don't know what it is that you can imagine when you're relaxed. But I want your unconscious minds to communicate with you now. And I want them to give you a good image of you in the future. I want your unconscious minds to give you an image of you in the future doing something that you've always wanted to do but you've not done yet. And I want you to give me a nod when you can see an image of you in the future doing something that you've not done yet but you know is achievable. So just give me a sign, Simon, Lauren, when you can see that. Very good. So as you can see that now, I want your hand unconsciously to know what it is that needs to happen internally for you, what decisions you need to make, what beliefs you need to change, and only as you're accepting them can your hand start to move down unconsciously as your unconscious makes the changes, as you can see the image. That's right, just let your hands unconsciously move as you're making the changes internally, as you can see the image. Every change that your unconscious mind accepts, just allow your hand. The more your hand moves, the more you've accepted unconsciously so that you can have what you can see. And you don't have to understand that. Just let your unconscious mind know that. As you breathe in, relaxed. Very good. just let that happen. And you don't have to understand what your unconscious mind has changed. But you've seen what you've seen. And the changes can go on all day without you being consciously aware. Because when you're in a different state, your unconscious can make the changes that you need to make so that you can have what you want. And I don't know how many other things this will affect in your life now you've changed. And even as you're changing without knowing that, you can just thank your unconscious mind. And I'm going to touch your shoulder. And when I do, I don't know what it is that you're going to think of. It might be a word. It might be an image. It might be a sound. But that will mean something. It will be a message from your unconscious. Only when I touch your shoulder will your unconscious give you that message. And it may even be nothing, but that will be the message. Very good. So only when I touch your shoulder, your unconscious will give you a message. But you won't know what that is until I touch your shoulder. You might be curious. So I'm going to count from 10 to 1, and when I get to 1, you can open your eyes. So I'm going to count down from 10 to 1, and when you hear 1, you can open your eyes fast or as slow as you want, knowing that something's happened but you're not totally aware of what it is. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay? Okay, so you can sit down.
Thanks.
So, that's what I'd like you to do with each other. Did you recognise some of the things that I was doing as you were sat down there with my voice?
You were talking the same breathing as
I was talking in sync with their breathing. So on their out breath, I would talk. So I was unconsciously pacing their breathing without making it explicit. So there was like an unconscious rapport there. Can you remember everything that I said? Did you see the part where, did I ask them to keep their hands there? So why do you think their hands, could you actually feel your hands there?
At first I could, and then it was just forgotten.
Simon?
Yeah, I would say I was conscious of it moving down. I was also conscious of how smoothly and slowly it took for the hand to move down.
Yeah.
But I was really thinking about what I was thinking about.
Right, so there's a bit of confusion there, but what I said, only your hand can only move down as the changes are occurring inside. So what does that presuppose? If a hand moves, there's been a change. So that's like a double bind. And you don't even have to know what's changed. Now, how unconscious is that? So as the hand moves down, that means there's been a change. But they don't know what it is. So to some degree, their unconscious has done something because their hands moved down. But who moved their hand down? Because I didn't ask them to keep their hand there. what Erickson would do is interrupt people's patterns and induce catalepsy. So catalepsy is where a person's hands like this, because when you hold your hand like this and you touch randomly, very gently, when a person's got their eyes closed and a person touches them, they don't know where they're going to touch, so there's a sensation that you're not aware of. And if you like touch this part of a person here, which I didn't do with these people, it really disorientates the sensations. Plus the blood rushes down the arm, and as the blood, well, it don't rush down the arm, but the blood would go, it'd be less here, and that would desensitize the hand somewhat. Now the key thing is, I placed it here, but only when I knew their body had taken the suggestion that I want you to keep it there, did I move it away. So then I got their focus on something else. So this part of their body was, to some degree, in the domain of the unconscious. They were not in control of it because they couldn't really feel it. They weren't attached to it to some degree. So Erickson would use catalepsy in hypnosis, and he would ask the person to give a sign, because when a person's hand's like this, he would ask for a yes and a no, and a digit would move. I can't move it now consciously, but there'd be a movement that they couldn't do consciously. It's like an unconscious response, because their unconscious is in control of their hand. Plus, he would say, I want you to deepen that, and as you deepen it, just allow your hand to go down, and the deeper your hand goes down, the deeper a trance you're in. So as their hand would move down, Erickson would say, what? That's right, very good. And then he would say, I don't know how deeper you can go now. So it's almost like there's a whole load of physiological things going on, suggestion, and as he's getting them to process things, but he's constantly talking. And a lot of the things that he might say might not make sense, but it doesn't matter. The person's in a totally different place, working on whatever it is they're working on. So initially, you need to go in a trance yourself. You need to be in rapport with the person, and when you sense that they've gone into another place, you ask them, if their eyes are closed, that's good. And you just then pace them. So that's the exercise. I want you to get with a partner. If you want to use catalepsy, obviously people know what you're doing, but it would still work. You would get their arm so it's sort of comfortable like this, and you would then just touch them very gently, and then you communicate. So this would just stay here. When catalepsy occurs, sometimes you can ask the client to open their eyes but still remain in a trance, and when they look at their hand, it's almost like it's not their hand, because it looks, and you might say, just notice something that you've never noticed before. Now, I don't know how many people look at their hands, but you will notice something that you've never noticed before. You just will. So it's almost like they don't know their back of their hand like their back of their hand. And when you notice that, just allow your eyes to close and go deeper. So there's a whole host of things that Erickson could do, and he would use the hand as a barometer, but it would be out of their consciousness, because it's almost like they couldn't feel it. So they might have a thought and something would. The pendulum that somebody mentioned, if you hold like a crystal or a pendulum or a watch, it's connected to your arm. So to some degree your arm's in a cataleptic state. So the hypnotist would ask the client a question, and this would move by magic. It's not magic, it's just unconsciously it would either go like that or it would spin. But they've switched off their feeling and sensation. So that too can be but again it's catalepsy. So these are things that add to a person's experience. So you can use that or not, but catalepsy is a guide to a state that a person's in. And the deeper it goes, and the more a person has their cataleptic, the deeper the trance would be, because it's almost like they've cut off certain feelings, and this can be used as a guide. So, yeah?
Question. You said that we need to go into a trance ourselves in order to do it. I'm not clear how I do that.
Okay, do you want to come up here?
No, I just want you to answer me.
Okay, right. So for you, okay, you tell me. Just put your book down, and everybody else can obviously listen. So you tell me if this works for you.
All right.
Just put both your feet flat on the floor. Hands on your lap and your back straight. That's great. Now, so I'm not doing any trick. I'm just giving you. This is an optimum way for you or anybody to enter a trance. So I'm not controlling Joanna, I'm just saying I want to give you an experience and you tell me if you... Yeah. So the reason why you have your hands on your lap and your feet flat on the floor, because if you're going into a trance, I want you to have balance so that, if you sort of like that, it's like, whoa! So, safety. The reason why I ask you to sit with your back up is because part of hypnosis is breathing, and if you've got an upright back, your lungs are going to be able to breathe even more. So there's no tricks, I'm just giving you that. Be aware of where you are, Joanna. So you can see me. You're aware that you're in Covent Garden, the Kingsway. Now as I'm saying this, what is Joanna doing with her head? She's nodded about 8 or 9, so I know that unconsciously we've got agreement. We had a chat yesterday evening, so I feel that we have a degree of rapport and trust. I know we have. She just nodded 4 times on the comment I've said there. So what I want you to do now is just focus on me. And she's nodded 3 times again unconsciously. And then widen your vision. So all part of hypnosis is, and she's nodded again 4 times there. Focus, yeah. Full vision. So focus on me, my voice, and I want your eyes to be aware of everything in your vision 180 degrees. I don't want you to take your focus off me, but I want you to notice everything 180 degrees. And I want you to allow, however you can, allow your vision to blur. So it's almost like you're looking at me and I'm doing the same thing with you, where I can be aware of everything, but I'm just allowing my vision to blur. And what I want you to do is breathe like me in. And you can keep your eyes open, or you can allow them to close. You can go in a deep trance with them open. And I want you to just allow your vision to blur. And I want you to notice any sensations that you might feel internally. And I want you to nod if you feel any sensations internally. Very good. And I'm going to ask you, can you amplify those sensations? Meaning, can you make them more intense? Can you do that? Good. So I want you to be aware that you're breathing and you're blinking. And when you blink, very good, that's unconscious. And I'm just going to suggest that you close your eyes. And you can keep them closed or you can open them, it's your choice. But just notice that things are different, Joanna, when your eyes are closed. Because when you're going into a trance and your eyes are closed and you're connected to yourself inside, you can choose what level of trance you experience. As you breathe, as you think, And last night you were telling me about lots of things that I felt brought us closer together as human beings, connecting and trusting each other. Everybody's got a story. And last night we shared parts of our story. You've got an unconscious mind, and you can imagine what you want your story to be. Our unconscious mind is always working. Like last night, your perfume. And at some place, you bought that perfume. Your unconscious mind made a choice. And I don't know how many choices you're going to make in your life, but when you're connected to your unconscious mind and trust your unconscious, just like your perfume, you can have a really good effect on those around you. So I'm going to count from 5 to 1, and when I get to 1, you can open your eyes fast or slow. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so what I did there, focus of attention, peripheral vision, filling in the conscious mind. Here we are, this is what we're doing. Allow your eyes to go blurred, and then I suggested that her eyes closed. So I was pacing outside her body, then going internal. Can you feel any sensations inside? Yeah. So I paced her from outside inside. Does that make sense?
So we would just do that. I'm just thinking about the circumstance when you're on your own and there's somebody else.
What, when you're doing self-hypnosis?
No, yes, because you're saying we need to get into a trance yourself before you can help somebody else.
Yeah,
And
so
if you're just on your own.
We're going to amplify that. So you will be, at the end of this course, you will be able to go in a trance really quickly. Now, going in a trance doesn't mean that. It just means you're going into a different way of operating. So you will know how to do that. To some degree, you took the instructions that I gave. You can amplify and accelerate those. The biggest thing is breathing. And it's going internal, connecting to yourself. And when you feel that, that's... A couple of people in Norway modelled me doing hypnosis. And one of the things that I didn't realise I did when I go in a trance in front of a group of people is my hands go cataleptic. So normally, you're looking at everything. So sometimes I would have a pen or some blue tack, because that's part of, and I would be moving the pen to some degree in sync with the breathing. If I was going like that, it would affect you. But if I've got a pen and I'm moving it like this, or he's nodding in time with his pen. So Erickson, crossover matching, would maybe use his little finger, or he'd have his walking stick, and he might be swaying, but he'd be swaying in time with the person's breathing. So it's building rapport by crossover matching. Does that make sense? One of the things that I do, which I don't realise I do, is my hands go cataleptic. So normally, if you're talking, your hands would be fluid. But if you notice now, my hands have gone cataleptic. By cataleptic, I mean they've just gone still. Now I'm still moving, I'm still talking, but I can feel my hands are not moving. That is the first part of me going in a trance. So when I'm teaching hypnosis, people notice, and they videoed this, my hands go still. So at some level, the audience, their unconscious has realised his hands have gone still, but it's out of their conscious awareness. Now when that happens, I know that I'm going in an altered state, and that can transfer. So at certain times during this course, I've told stories. When I've told the stories, my hands have been cataleptic. Because it's almost like I go into a different state. I can still hear and see what's going on, but if I notice somebody else going there, I can then connect, and then we float off. So we're amplifying the skills that you've already got. We're talking about pure hypnosis now, of how we then use the Milton model. So before the break, I want you to get with the partner. First of all, just don't say anything, but just breathe like them. Might be a bit awkward, and you might laugh, but that's good because it's your unconscious. And then I want you to talk to them, but you talk to them in a way that they're breathing. So if I'm looking at Dominic now, I'm not going to look at his body, because his body's moving and my body's moving. What you would do is you would look through him at something that's stationary. So like the chair behind him and the floor is stationary. So I'm looking at that, and as I look at that, I know when he breathes. And I talk on his out-breath. Because the floor's still, and if I'm focusing on something that's still, when something moves, I know it's moving. So it's almost like if you're focusing on me now, focus on the wall, look through me, and you may see movement when I breathe. But if you focus on me, I'm moving, you're moving, you lose it. So the first thing you do is not focus on the person. You look beyond them at something that's stationary, and you just allow your peripheral vision to blur. And when they move, you talk. So I just want you to do that, and you can do it both ways. You can have a conversation, but you would be talking on their out-breath. Does that make sense?
You've got 3 sentences really short. So I'm just thinking of practicalities of it. So if you-
Well,
if you
think
just
about it.
wait till the-
Yeah, think about it. So if I'm talking to you and my sentences are quite long, they flow, blah blah blah. There's not really a cut off. I don't know how hypnotic that is. But if I pause, you just nodded 4 times there. Very good. So there's your answer. When you do that, the pause is all part of the hypnosis. Because they've got to focus their attention, because it's like, what's coming next? Just like Steve, when we were dancing next door. I don't know if you've danced with a blind man. But Steve was going to leave. And I said, before you go, I just want the last dance. So I thought, I'm going to put myself in his world. So I closed my eyes, and I could hear the salsa music, but I couldn't see the people. And I took Steve, these 2 guys, we don't know who was the man. I took him, and I don't know whether we were doing salsa. We definitely weren't doing salsa. But I don't really think it was about salsa. It was about daring to put yourself in a different place, just like jumping out of a plane. Once you've jumped, you will experience something that you wouldn't experience sat comfortably on the plane. So it's all about daring to jump with your parachute. So that's the protocol, that's the experience I want you to have. Let's take 15 minutes and we're going to build from that using the Milton model patterns, and I'll share how we do that in a business context and the hypnosis.